She said to me, Dad, I'm only trying to live the life that I was taught. And that hit me about the inheritance of everybody in this room from their parents. And so I would like to honor you tonight by just talking a little bit about, I wish I could do this to everyone, but I'm only going to talk about my 5 kids that are living and how they assume that same attitude. So I want to tell you a little bit about your inheritance. For you that don't know, your grandpa and grandma Mitch were wonderful, beautiful people. Mavon and Lewis were just the basic Christians. They belonged to a little special group at the University of Utah that included a guy by the name of T. Edgar Lyon and Lowell Benyon. They are the 2 men that started the Church Institute programs that are at all the universities. But their main goal was to care for other people. In fact, the message in Mavon's house was that Christianity began around her kitchen table. So that's what you got from the Mensch side, was that whole attitude of service. On the other side, I want to tell you a couple of stories about the Lymans, because that also brings this other aspect of how we deal with our environment, what we do with our pain and with our suffering, and how we learn from that. So 2 quick stories about that. Your great-great-grandfather was named Platt Lyman. Platt was born on the Platte River. That's where he got his name. As the saints were coming out across the plains, he was born at the Platte River, which the Platte River was contributory to the Missouri River. I forgot to tell you one thing about the Menches. Louis Mensch, you probably know, was a psychiatrist. And he was one of the first psychiatrists in Salt Lake. And he gave most of his services out free. Especially, he had a lot of pressure from the church to take care of all of the families and the church authorities that needed his help. Sometime you might ask Dan about the letters that he has between him and Gordon B. Hinckley. But he did this service, free service, for hundreds of people at his own expense. Now back to Platt. So Platt was one of the leaders of the Hole in the Rock, and I'm sorry that Wendy's not here to put her finger down her throat when we sang in the Hole in the Rock. We all went down there. But after he got down, he made a living by punching cattle. He had these cattle that roamed along the Colorado River down in the 4 Points area. And he had a partner. His partner's name was Josh Witter. And Josh Witter was an evil man. He hated your great-great-grandfather. He was a liar. He was a stealer. He stole cattle from him. He overbranded his cattle over the brands of Platt. Well, when Platt got his son, Albert was now a teenager. He took Albert out with him onto the range to punch cattle with him. And at that time, Albert was an atheist. He didn't believe in any of the stuff his dad was trying to tell him. And Albert was out with him, and Josh Witter and Albert riding their horses along the crest of the Colorado River, along with Albert's dog. And Albert looked around back at Josh just as he saw Josh kick his dog over the cliff into the Colorado River. And Albert was really pissed off at the whole thing, because he knew that Josh Witter was stealing from his dad and was such an evil man. And so he determined that, so he decided that this would not be the way that his dad would really confront his evil partner. And so he went to his dad, Platt, and made all his arguments and said, Dad, you know, this guy's been ripping you off. He hates you, he swears at you, he takes your cattle. We ought to confront him. And what happened was that Platt broke down and cried. And he said, you know, I have lived my life with the idea that I pray for my enemies. I bless them that curse me. I do good to them that hate me, and I pray for them that despitefully use me. And he says, I've done that for years, and Josh is here to teach me how to do that. And I can't break down now and confront him. And he didn't. He didn't confront Josh. Just one other story about your inheritance on that side. Albert, when he was young, he'd go all over the Four Corners area, and one time he found a burial ground to a burial chief's wife, and he was rummaging around in the burial ground, and the chief, Posey, came riding up, and Albert jumped on his horse and rode off as fast as he can, hearing Posey say to him, I'm going to kill you because you just desecrated my wife's funeral burial ground. Well, for the next, all his teenage years, he had to look behind him all the time to try to escape from Posey. And one time he was out by himself on the range, and he didn't have time to go home. He thought, I've got to make put a roll down in the fireplace. And so he went up this little dead-end canyon, and he looked around him, and he saw some dust coming toward him, way, way off, and he knew that Posey was going to come and kill him that night. And so what he did was he went down into the canyon, he made a fire, and he made his bedroll, he put some brushes on it so it looked like he was going to sleep there, or asleep there. And he took his horse way up on the mountainside so he could escape. He hit his horse and he waited. And he saw Posey come up to the front of the canyon, saw him get off of his horse, and he saw Posey crawling toward the fireplace where he thought Albert was. And so Albert was confronted then with what he should do. He had his rifle, and he thought, am I going to kill this man who's going to kill me, or what should I do? And so he watched Posey as he went up, and he took his rifle, and he aimed, and he shot. And Posey's horse dropped dead. He made a decision on how he would confront this awful thing that had been happening to him. Several years later, Posey and his son were raiding the pioneers' camps down in the Four Corner areas, and Posey's son had a rifle put to Albert's forehead. And luckily, Posey came up and said to his son, not this one. So what I think we get inheritance-wise that way is how we deal with our suffering and how we deal with our environment. And I think that's part of the inheritance also. So I just have to do one more thing and then I'll be through with this part of the program. I want to talk about my 5 living kids and how I think that has affected them. I don't know if you all know what Alex does, but what Alex does is she takes care of the most destitute people around. People that don't have any money, they don't have any insurance, they don't have anything to help, and some of them are dying. And what her job is she goes and takes care of them. She figures out what they can get from the government, how they can sustain themselves, what to do with the money. But if you listen to her, and I hope you sometimes will listen to her whole attitude about these people that she tends, it's a blessing for her. It's not that, oh, crap, I gotta go take care of this bitch again, right? It's none of that. It's, I'm gonna go take care of these people. And then she also does, as she takes care of them, she also goes beyond that. She'll go to the family of the people and help them also get things to help the destitute. It's a really impressive job that she has, and a very difficult one, but I think how she handles it is really neat. Wendy we know about, and I can spend a lot of time on Wendy, but you know all about her and how she incorporated these 2 ideas of how you deal with your environment and how you deal with giving. Now I have to tell you something about Dan. This is a story you probably will not even think that I might tell you about him, but I could spend a lot of time about telling you about Christy and Dan and what they do and the service they do. But I'm going to tell you about a really unusual thing about Dan, which I think displays the real genuine features of his character. Most of you know that I like golf. And I like golf for a lot of reasons. I like golf because it's about you and the environment and how you deal with the environment, how you take care of the course, how you deal with your score, whether you cheat or not, whether you take care of your equipment, whether you're mean if you miss a shot. Because I could play golf with somebody within 2 or 3 holes. I can tell you what type of person they are. Well, about a little over a year ago, Dan called me and he said, "Hey Dad, why don't you come down with me? I'm going to go try out for the U.S. Senior Open. And I've got to go in Atlanta. And I can take a caddy, you can drive the cart. You can't play, but you can come and caddy for me." And so we planned it out. We planned that we would go there a day early so we could practice on the course the day before and then do the course the next day. Well, we all got caught up in delays on the plane. And so that first day we didn't get to the course until about a half hour before sunset. So we barely got a cart, and we were able just to drive around the course and see what the holes were. Dan didn't even practice anything on the course. So the next day, the first hole was, I'm only going to go through 2 holes. The first day, it wasn't a long par 4, and he did just fine. But the second hole was a tee high up on a cliff overlooking a lake with the green just on the other side of the lake. It was a par 3. And so Dan got up and he teed up and he hit his football and it went in the water. And so he went, said nothing. He just came and picked up another ball from his golf cart, went over, teed it up, and hit it into the water. So I went and got a third ball, and he teed it up, and this one he hit on the green and he putted. So on a par 3, he was it 4 over, Dan?
Yeah.
So it was 4 over, and the contest was over. He never said one thing about anybody's fault except his hit. How he dealt, now you might think golf is a screwy thing and why I'm bringing it up, but I think it's a mirror of what the integrity of a person is, and I think Dan showed it that day. Out of all my kids, I think I hitch up most with Emmy. And I think I do because we're both dyslexic. And we both have difficulty, and we both have anxiety. So out of all the kids, I think my characters in her are about as tied up as any. But I've watched Emmy over the years. I watched her struggle to be able to get a couple of master's degree. And I watched her when she was in the hospital when she about died from endometriosis. And I watched how she dealt with that and how she handled that. But if you listen to Emmy and what she likes to do is she loves to go teach kids. And through all of this stuff that she's been doing for all these years, the integrity was really about kids. And most of you know it was Emmy that kind of brought the idea of the Winter Foundation to her sister. So I think she displays that same thing. Jamie, I think everybody knows about Jamie. And I think we could spend a lot of time on Jamie. But I think what she displays, if you listen to how she reacts to people and interacts to people, and how she reacts to disappointment and suffering, you'll see the same wonderful qualities that she has, that she's inherited, just like all her siblings. And lastly, Julie. You know, Julie, I really hitch up with Julie because she's a pure introvert. And just as soon not talk to anybody. And I've seen how she's dealt with that. She's dealt with it a little bit like Alex has done. She made her own world. Alex made her own world, finally got a little place. She doesn't have to do anything with anybody, and she lives her life. And that's what Julie has done. First of all, she found a wonderful husband. It's the same thing, and I kind of helped out a little bit.
I only need one person.
But then, if you listen to what Julie does, is what she does is Parker. That's her life. And what she does is blessing the life of another person, giving herself to that person. Now, so I tell you that because I want to honor all of those first generation people, because I think they picked up the same thing that Wendy did. Now, I can't go through the next generation, but I will tell you this whole idea is whether people are enlightened or not. There's a story that's told about the Buddhist who became enlightened. And being enlightened is exactly what I'm talking about. And someone came to him and said, what did you do before you were enlightened? He said, oh, I swept the streets of my town. And then the person said, well, what do you do now since you're enlightened? He says, oh, I sweep the streets of my town. So to me, it really doesn't matter whether you're a physician assistant, whether you're welding an atomic plant together so it doesn't blow up, or whether you're in school trying to get educated, or whether you're working now at a lab, or whether you're working toward a degree, or whether you have your own business and you're an entrepreneur, or you're a salesman, or you're a photographer, or you're going to school, or wanting to go to school. It doesn't matter what we do, it's how we deal with our environment and how we deal with our suffering. I am very, very grateful, and I really love you because I think you're beautiful. No! So let's have fun with bingo.